and welcome back to For Such a Time as This. I am your host, Pastor James Pittman. Want to deal with this issue starting off with white privilege. And if you swallow that, then maybe you'll swallow something called white guilt. And if you swallow this thing called white guilt, you will allow a whole bunch of foolishness to go on around you. And it seems that is what happened to Wheaton College. Julie Royce on her site actually wrote an article on the 11th of this month in which she talked about Wheaton allowing a Dr. George Yancey from Emory University to come to Wheaton and gave a profanity-laced speak. I heard it. It was awful. It was F-bombs, N-words. And I guess if you buy into this white guilt stuff, then that silences you and you can no longer stand up for morals. But anyway, let's play the clip and we'll comment on it.
But the thing is, white privilege continues to exist. White privilege, white power. We don't have that. Black bodies have never had that. We've always encountered white racism. There's nothing called black racism. Perhaps we need more spaces where white spaces, probably white spaces, break down. And what does that look like when they break down? So like the elevator, spaces where we get to dwell near each other, where you get to see that you are the problem.
All righty. That was Dr. George Yancey from Emory University, professor that Wheaton College thought would be beneficial to put in front of their children. Before we get into the big issue, just a little bit of what he said. He said that black bodies have never had privilege and power. Black bodies have never had this thing called privilege and power. Let's assume he's not talking about Egypt, ancient Egypt, where they had privilege and they had power within the culture. Let's just assume he's even talking about America. Even if we're just simply relegating it to America, to make that statement is to say that the NBA and the NFL does not exist. Privilege, power, NBA, NFL. But forget that. There's something more heinous to recently what he just said. Look what he said. He said maybe we need to have more white spaces where they break down. What does that mean? What white spaces do you want to break down? And when he says when they break down, then we'll be forced to dwell near each other where you can see that you're the problem. He said, maybe blacks and whites need to dwell closer together so you little white kids can then realize that you little white kids, you're the problem. And buying into this white guilt facilitates and allows a whole bunch of foolishness. You see, and this is a message to specifically white Christians. If it's about you, then you'll buy into the white guilt. If you make it about you and you happen to be white, then yes, that part in you that's still pridefully clinging to you, and if you just happen to be white, then you'll feel guilty. But if it's not about you, if it's about Christ, it's not about you, it's about the message, the eternal message of the Savior, then white guilt should have no part of you. White guilt should silence your message. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. Guilt in any form, white, black, red, brown, that is a shade of pride. And so this is foolish, but my white brothers and sisters in the United States of America, y'all gotta get over this white guilt foolishness. This is from the devil. And so because you're white and somehow someone's going to make you feel guilty about past sins, therefore silencing you, and you don't even have the moral gumption and the moral integrity to look at that crazy speech laced with F-bombs. At one point in the clip, he tried to hide his anger by putting the F-bombs in quotes, and he was quoting other people, and he was using F-bombs. As he started to talk to people, he didn't even need the quotes. Started dropping F-bombs left and right. Didn't care. And somewhere, for some reason, Wheaton College did not have the moral clarity to condemn that foolishness. Why? Why? White guilt. White guilt. That's foolishness. My white brothers and sisters, if it's about you, you will buy into the white guilt. But if it's about your Savior, man, forget the guilt. Preach the word.